הנה, מצוין.
עכשיו זה.
את ההודעה, מעולה. אז אם כן, מצוין. עכשיו אתה הוסט. מעולה. יופי, אם צריך משהו אני בטלפון.
בסדר גמור.
שיהיה בהצלחה.
תודה.
ביי ביי.
עוד 2 פרקים.
עוד 2 פרקים? עוד 2 פרקים הם
זה
מסיימים?
ויקרא.
וואו, צריך לעשות מסיבה. כן.
אנחנו נעשה משהו, כן, זה... וואי. פרק 25, עוד לא נגמר, אבל כמעט נגמר. פרק 26 זה כל הכללות.
כן, זה פרשת בחוקותיי. כן.
נכון.
ואם תלכו עם מי קרי וכולי, כן.
אז זהו, עם הקרי שלו. אני יודעת שקרי זה תבלין, אבל בסדר.
כן.
וכן, ואחר כך כבר נגמר את זה.
וואי. יפה.
נגיד את זה בזה, אולי נציין את זה
בשמחה. בטח. יופי.
יאללה, 100%.
בהצלחה. ערב טוב. ביי ביי.
ביי.
Hi, Laura.
Yeah. How are you?
Good.
Your big
Earphones.
earphones. Yes.
I'm gonna attach a mic.
Yeah, but they look very comfortable. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just got these. My old ones broke,
Yeah.
but they're real
How are you?
comfortable.
Yeah.
Hi, Gershom.
Hi, Vera.
Gershom.
How's everybody?
Hello. We were just talking about the big earphones of Crystal.
Okay.
You look like a pilot here.
Yes. She takes off once in a while, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I thought it was pretty funny that people were calling in sick to a Zoom meeting.
Calling what?
Calling in sick. This is what you call it at work. Somebody called in sick. They couldn't come to work, but they called in sick to a Zoom meeting.
A lot of people are sick.
Yeah, but you can't turn on Zoom because you're sick. I thought that was funny.
I think it depends how you feel. I think if you really feel bad and you want only to, I mean, what's the point if you are not going to listen and to participate?
Yeah. Well, I would turn it on, I'd turn off the picture, and I'd listen as much as I listen.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah, I noticed it. Yeah. Okay.
How is Emma screen sharing?
And again. Oh my God. Every time I don't know exactly how to. Oh, no. Every time I have to recall what, remember again and again. Shalom, Wendy.
Hello, Ora. Hello, everyone.
Shalom,
Hi.
Oh,
Ella.
Wendy.
Hello.
I like your plants. I always behind. They are
Oh,
so
yeah.
big plants.
I've got two plant things because it's by the window and it gets all the
Yeah.
light.
Yeah.
And they do well there.
Yeah, I remember you had a big, very nice window.
Yes. And the computer's in the corner there, so it gets a lot of light.
Yeah.
Wendy, I saw you on the Ezra meeting the other night.
It was
with
very
Bob
good,
Kanan.
wasn't it? It was
Yeah,
very good.
He's a very
Yeah.
good speaker.
Wonderful. It was very inspiring, very encouraging.
He puts balance into things. So
Yes.
it was
Yeah.
nice. But it was nice to see a familiar face.
Yes. I looked, there weren't so many for people, but there were a few.
Emma, hello. We can't see you, but we know you are there. Yossi, shalom. Emma. I think today we will. What's the noise are coming from?
Emma.
In. The minute, if I mute someone that I don't know if he or she makes the noise, I mute and then we know.
Yes, exactly. The scientific method.
I always say that my late husband would have loved to have been able to mute me. Sometimes.
Yeah, there are all the jobs. Also, with teachers and pupils in the, if pupil talks or disturb or something, she has to say to do is
Yes.
Yeah, when I'm not wearing headphones, I wear hearing aids, and it is a wonderful ability to just turn them off sometimes.
Yeah, I used to have a cousin who had a very nagging wife, and he was very deaf. I mean, he had an accident and was deafened, but he had hearing aids. But sometimes he'd sit there with a lovely smile, relaxed smile on his face, and she was on at him, and I knew he must have switched off.
That's great. But sometimes I like to watch TV without any, I mean, in silence. They talk too much and I can understand without talking. Sometimes there are certain. Okay, so we will, let's see, maybe 1 or 2 more minutes. And then I know that Adina is coming. And, oh, Ginny, now I see. And that some people are sick or can't come. Shalom, Ginny.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hello again, Jeannie.
Hi.
Yeah. And Gershom is here too. Hi.
Yeah. Gershom and maybe even his sister from California will join us, maybe not today, but some other time.
Wow. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. We are about to become international.
International. Oh. That's wonderful.
Yes, I had forgotten that she was going to have her son and her fairly grown-up grandchildren visiting this week, and so it didn't surprise me when you said
No
that.
problem at all, and
But
certainly this is the priority.
when you wrote grandchildren, you probably pictured little kids running around or something, though. And my older sister, and she started having children younger than I did. So she has a son.
Yeah.
She has a son who was born when I was 15 years old. So
you were a very young uncle.
Yes, very. There's a picture of me with him in my arms.
Yeah, and definitely this is the first priority in any sense. I mean, in fun, in everything. Okay, I think we can start.
Okay.
Let's see I will share my file and okay. I believe. Shalom Adina. I didn't see you.
I just did.
Yeah, shalom. Okay, good to see you. And so, what that we will do today, we will finish hopefully chapter 20, 25, yeah, 25 in Leviticus. But I told you we will start from 38 or something, but we will start reading 47 because we quite talked about the other part, and we will continue to 26, and we will see how we can if we will finish 26 or not. I don't know. Okay, so if you remember, I will just a quick reminder. 25 is dealing about the Jubilee year, the Shemitah, the year of the resting for the land, and the laws for slavery, which we know there are few places in the Torah that the laws of slavery appear, but we know according to all kinds of research and sources that there is no slave within the Israeli people is not a real slave. He will be free at some point. Sometimes in Shemot it is, and in Exodus, in Deuteronomy in the 7th year, in Leviticus in the Jubilee year, but at some point, and this is different from the other nations around. Okay, I think this is a very interesting and a very important and good point about the Torah, about the law. So, and of course, we can always say, why should they have slaves at all? But remember, we are talking here 3,000 years ago, which is totally different from the time that we are now. Okay, we will maybe talk a little bit more about that later. So let's see, Adina, would you like to read 47 until just a minute? Yes, until 55.
Okay. If a resident alien among you has prospered, and your brother, being in straits, comes under his authority and gives himself over to the resident alien among you, or to an offshoot of an alien's family, he shall have the right of redemption, even after he has given himself over. One of his brothers shall redeem him, or his uncle or his uncle's son shall redeem him, or anyone of his family who is of his own flesh shall redeem him. Or if he prospers, he may redeem himself. He shall compute with his purchasers a total from the year he gave himself over to him until the Jubilee year. The price of his sale shall be applied to the number of years, as though it were for a term as a hired laborer under the other's authority. If many years remain, he shall pay back for his redemption in proportion to his purchase price. And if few years remain until the Jubilee year, he shall so compute. He shall make payment for his redemption according to the years involved. He shall be under his authority as a laborer hired by the year. He shall not rule ruthlessly with him in your sight. If he has not been redeemed in any of those ways, he and his children with him shall go free in the Jubilee year. For it is to me that the Israelites are servants. They are my servants, whom I freed from the land of Egypt. I, the Lord, your God.
Thank you. And
I just wanted to say that it's more like an indenture, like an indentured servant rather than a slave.
a what servant? I didn't catch the word.
Indentured.
Like a regular employee?
Well, sort of like someone who, like, in order to pay off a debt,
Yes.
works as a servant, but it's not the same as a slave. And when they work off their debt, then or the certain term of the indenture, then they can go free.
Yeah.
That's what an indentured servant is.
Okay. Yeah. And this is also connected to what we said in the beginning, that it's not. It's like the Torah is against slavery, and God is against slavery, and we will see it. It's not. I mean, you have to learn the loan, okay, but and the minute you finish giving back the loan, you will be free. And even when we read it in Exodus that if someone really likes his master and really likes his way of living and everything is nice there, and his master treats him well and all that, he wants to stay as a slave. The Torah, I mean, he can in certain like in Exodus and Deuteronomy, it is written that he can do it, but in Leviticus he cannot. There's no such a possibility. But the Torah doesn't like it. The Torah wants people to be free, the people of Israel. And this is, I think, a very interesting point. So, a major and central idea in the Bible or in the Torah, both the land and the people of Israel belong to God. Nobody owns them apart from God. This is why the Torah doesn't like slavery. It's not something that the Torah approved. Now, if we read last time, or we read in verse 23, maybe I will read it. And the land shall not be sold in perpetuity. For the land is mine, for ye are stranger and settlers with me. So you are mine, my servant, and the land is mine. So this is why the people of Israel cannot be slaves of slaves. And what we said it last time, that in the Talmud, the Babylonian Talmud, it says "Velo avadim la'avadim," and not slaves of slaves. This is the whole idea. So there are one time you can be slaves of, and this is of God, and that's it. Okay.
Also just a little side sort of point that's interesting here is it talks about the family members redeeming you.
Yes.
Which is, again, not quite like I would expect in modern days where, okay, so you just give your brother the money for this, or, or your nephew or whomever. It's just given. And there are some people who would do that, but there are many families where it would be lent to you, but you are still expected to pay it back. So it just seemed like it's just your obligation to do this for family members.
Yes, you're right. I mean, but it's still it's another possibility to get free, to be free. It's another way of I mean, look how many, again, it looks for us terrible that there is slavery, but if we compare to the other laws around, I can't bring everything to the, but sometimes to Hammurabi laws, and they didn't talk about going to freedom after 6 or 7 years, or cousin and all that.
Okay, could I have one comment to make, may I?
Sure.
Okay, so I just wanted to say what Gershom said, I agree with him 100%, but it's also, I think, American culture, because I have Russian friends and they help all their family members out. The money goes between the family members as if it's one, from the parents to the children to the grandchildren to the uncles to the aunts. It just is back and forth. It's one large corporation, everybody helping each other out all the time, which I think is not an American concept. I think it is a Russian one, and maybe because that's just how they had to live in their culture when things were difficult. I don't know. I just want to say that for what it's worth.
It's another example, and it's another example how much family is important, and maybe we talk about that family is not that important as before, and people, it's not a strong unit of like little community, but very strong. But according to what you're saying, it is very strong. There's no families like in the Italian mafia.
I would not say that it's not an American concept. I would say certainly among lots of Americans, that's exactly what they would do for family. And I suppose it varies from one community to another, but it's certainly not foreign to Americans. Helping family is absolutely American.
No, but what I've found, I mean, as parents and grandparents here, we've all helped our children a great deal because they wouldn't manage without that help. And when I've spoken to friends and family in Britain, they don't do anywhere as much as we do here.
Okay, but Britain is not America. America is America. America certainly is part of the American culture to help your family and to help extended family and to help strangers. It's certainly, I don't know how you can say that that's not an American idea. It's certainly American.
So, Adina, so it's, I agree with you there. And certainly, I mean, there's 300 million people in America, so there's certainly many who would be very helpful. The difference here is it's an expectation that you should do this for your relatives. And in the US, it's some people expect it in their families, but it's not a cultural expectation necessarily.
I don't agree with you.
Okay.
Don't forget, it's really a difference of time. I get back to the text. Here it is written as a law, right? His cousin or uncle must do it. But we know, according to the book of Ruth, that he could say, no, I don't want. I mean, the first king of Ruth didn't want to do it. So Boaz stepped ahead. And remember, it's interesting that, so probably I don't know, not probably, but maybe sometimes maybe it was expected, but like today, not everybody wants to do it or can do it, or because this king had to marry also to marry, maybe he didn't want it. And if I remember correctly, there is the story of his children, his already children, will have to get less a smaller part from his from what he has. Anyway, so okay. I like the way of in 50 and 50, in 51 and 52 that it's not you calculate how much it costs to this redemption, this whole life, and it's very logical according to what is written here. Very logical, and also 53. We always have to remember that if something is written that you should not do this and that, it means that they did this. So lo yerdenu b'farech, not rule with rigor over him, and it's also a very, very humane attitude to the slave or worker, as Adina said, certain worker. Okay. So let's move on, unless you have any other comment. Oh, okay. So let's move on. I wanted to show you something that I found interesting. Every now and again we find in the Torah God's signature. It's not me calling it signature. It's quite common to call it the signature of God. Which is, I am the Lord your God who brought you forth out of the land of Egypt. Maybe some kind of little changes here and there, but I am the Lord your God, and the mention of Egypt. Okay, this is the signature. But what I found about it that there is a special ending to the signature. I mean, there is this signature and then an ending to the signature. So let's look about it for a few minutes. Wendy, can you read this, please? So this is from Exodus 29, and we will read, and we will get to the signature, and then notice the ending of the signature.
Yeah. And I will sanctify the tent of meeting and the altar. Aaron also and his sons will I sanctify to minister to me in the priest's office. And I will dwell among the children of Israel and will be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God that brought them forth out of the land of Egypt, that I may dwell among them. I am the Lord their God.
Thank you. So here's one ending, is that I may dwell among them. Okay? Another is in the next chapter. It's not chapter of, maybe yes, maybe it's the chapter of today, but let's read it in this context. Gershon, can you read?
And I will set my tabernacle among you, and my soul shall not abhor you. And I will walk among you, and will be your God, and ye shall be my people. I am the Lord your God, who brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, that ye should not be their bondmen. And I have broken the bars of your yoke, and made you go upright.
Thank you. So another ending about like some kind of elaboration of the who brought the same idea of Egypt, who made you free people, right? And here in number 15, Jeannie, can you read? It's 5 verses. Just unmute yourself.
Let's see.
We can't hear you. Can you start again? You are freeze.
Recording, I can't see it.
No, can you read again because we couldn't hear you? Something.
Read through 39 then, okay. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, fringes in the corners of their garments, and be unto you for a fringe on it. Remember all the commandments and the
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Continue on or no? That's it? I can't hear you.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you. I don't know. Did you all hear her? I couldn't.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so here's
I think,
okay, thanks, Jeannie. I wanted to, here the ending is to be your God, I am the Lord your God, okay? So we find various ways to identify the particular God of Israel, who brought them out of slavery, and how he emphasized certain subjects, okay? And so, Crystal, can you read this and then here and here and here? Can you read? Is it big enough?
Oh, yeah. I am the Lord thy God who brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
So this is God exclusive.
Okay, in Exodus 29:46, that I may dwell above them. God dwells among his people. Leviticus 11:45, to be your God, you shall therefore be holy, for I am holy.
Yeah, and here another one.
Numbers 15:41, to be your God, I am the Lord your God. Leviticus 25:38, to give you the land of Canaan to be your God, to fulfill the ancient promise. Leviticus 25:42, they shall not be sold as bondsmen, forever ending of slavery. Leviticus 26:13, that ye shall not be their bondsmen. Okay, in Deuteronomy 16:3, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of thy life, memorizing the miracle, which is that he,
Okay, thank you.
that
So,
he brought us
yeah.
out of Egypt.
Yeah, by the way, what do you think was the miracle? I mean, there were few miracles in the going out of Egypt. What was the miracle in your view? I mean, we had the sea, we had all the
Yeah, the Red Sea and Moses with his miracles.
the fighting and the victory over the Egyptians.
Yeah.
For me, I always, we had the sport American before that, the 10, the name of Esther Amakot. But I always think that the miracle is to become free people. I mean, the whole other miracles, of course, they are great miracles, but the miracle is to become a nation, people, a group of people, a nation that is free and start to be a nation with culture, with tradition, with all kinds of culture that make a nation a nation. Anyway, so
also to become free people without fighting a war.
Yeah, without fighting the war. They just sat there and saw God. If you remember before passing the sea, they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. God did everything. And after that, they had to earn their life. So what I wanted to show you here, that first of all, I think it's interesting to see how every time the same signature repeats itself about Egypt, and then the issue that the specific chapter or section deals with. Okay, either it's the Canaan, the land of Canaan, and the fulfillment of the ancient promise, either it's the holiness. But what I wanted to show you here is the anti-slavery issue is the most abundant as an ending for God's signature. I didn't bring all the cases that we have in the Torah. We have more, but no ending is as abundant as this. I think it shows how much this issue is important in our Torah, to be free people. And I always remember that we will read the Ten Commandments in a few weeks, right? In the Torah. I always remember that the first verse of the Torah, of the Ten Commandments, is I am the Lord who brought you out from Egypt. Now I think, the Ten Commandments are of course very, very, very important, but they meant to be for or to be given to free people. Otherwise, they couldn't fulfill them. If they are not free, they have to do what their master says to them. Okay, so just this issue we have in Kings, we have certain other slavery stories in the Bible of underage. Well, we will not read them, but here with Elisha's story, you know what? It's just short, and maybe we do read it. I think it's interesting. Who didn't read? Sorry, I am. Orit, would you like to read? Orit, these two verses.
Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, Thy servant, my husband, is dead, and thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord, and the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 children to be bondmen. And in Nehemiah, there were also that said, We have borrowed money for the king's tribute upon our fields and our vineyards.
And this one, sorry, this one. And yet now,
our flesh is as the flesh of our brethren, our children as their children, and lo, we bring into bondage our sons and our daughters to be servants, and some of our daughters are brought into bondage already. Neither is it in our power to help it, for other men have our fields and our vineyards.
Okay, so just to give you, and there are a few other cases. Just to give you an impression about this. Maybe can you continue?
Okay. In Israel, as opposed to the nations around, there had been voices that called for equality between people. Yoel 3:2 or Job 31:15. Although they didn't. Wait, I don't see it. What's that word?
They didn't call to abolish slavery.
To abolish slavery. It was so integrated in the culture and in the mentality of the ancient world.
Okay, thank you. And while I prepared this lesson, I found an interesting site, maybe you know it, about the American Anti-Slavery Group. If you want, it's called I Abolish, and you can search for it. It's very interesting. It seems that in certain parts of the world, this is from last month, yes, a few days ago, Those people are being slave even to the children and the women and okay, so very interesting. Okay, if do you have any more comments about anything until now? Andy, okay. So let's move on to Leviticus 26. I think all when they are corrupting third and no third. Wendy? Did you maybe you can, if you can read, okay?
Yes.
Leviticus 26.
Okay.
Read until 5. Okay.
Okay. You shall make you no idols, neither shall ye rear you up a graven image or a pillar, neither shall you place any figured stone in your land to bow down unto it, for I am the Lord your God. You shall keep my Sabbaths and reverence my sanctuary. I am the Lord. If you walk in my statutes and keep my commandments and do them, then I will give your rains in their season, and the land shall yield her produce, and the trees of the field shall yield their fruit. And your threshing shall reach into the vintage, and the vintage shall reach into the sowing time, and you shall eat your bread until you have enough, and dwell in your land safely.
Thank you. So here we're coming to the end of the difficult, and I when I read it, I felt like a beginning of some kind of a summary. We had all the laws from actually all Leviticus is full with laws, but it started from Parashat Mishpatim portion in Exodus, and of course the Ten Commandments. But and here is kind of a summary. Okay, so we have in verse 1 the main thing, not the word for other God, and all that. And again, remember that the Shabbat is mentioned here and almost in every important section or group of laws. That start from the Shabbat. It's very interesting. We saw it a few times in the Leviticus, and here is the condition. If you walk in my statutes, look what you would have. Now, this chapter is, we can split it into two main parts: the blessings, and the things that are the curses, actually, the opposite for blessings. And unfortunately, the blessings are much shorter. The blessings part is much shorter than the other part, the opposite part. Okay, so if we will do all God's commandments, we will have like everything will be so good, like heaven, like the Garden of Eden. Okay, so let's continue reading. Gershon, let's continue. Maybe until here.
Okay. I'll go for my translation here. I will grant peace in the land, and ye shall lie down untroubled by anyone. I will give the land respite from vicious beasts, and no sword shall cross your land. You shall give chase to your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. 5 of you shall give chase to 100, and 100 of you shall give chase to 10,000. Your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. Keep going?
Yes.
Okay. I will look with favor upon you and make you fertile and multiply you, and I will maintain my covenant with you. You shall eat old grain long stored, and you shall have to clear out the old to make room for the new.
Thank you. You know what? Last time we read a specific verse that relates to this verse. So if you can please read also this one in Leviticus 25.
And ye shall sow the 8th year and eat of the produce the old store. Until the 9th year, until her produce come in, ye shall eat the old store.
Thank you very much. Okay. So we look what blessing do we have? Okay, so here it's how do we say shefa? Wendy. Well, right? Well, here we have the blessing of wealth. Also here we have food, enough food. Here we in 6 it talks about peace, right? Peace in the land. But in 7 and 8, it's not peace, right? But it's victory upon the enemies, right? And here it's fruitful and being the.
What is the connection, really?
It's all kinds of success in life. I think you have wealth, you have enough food, you are healthy. Everybody will be healthy, and a lot of children, and enemies will be, if there will be enemies, they will lose war, and it will be peaceful time.
But then
Prosperity. Everything will be good. Everything will be nice, and life will be great. And even here, what's the difference between 10 and what we read, what Gershom just read in Leviticus 25, verse 22? Remember, we said that if we have a year of Shemitah and then right after that a year of Jubilee year, so theoretically the farmer must not work his land 2 years in a row, and then how would they eat? So 25 says you will eat 3 years. Okay, 6, 7, and 8 year. The 6th year will be so fruitful that it will last until the 9th year. Okay? But what is the difference between this and this? Because it talks about quite the same. Number 10 talks okay, so number 10 in the beginning talks about that you will eat the old year, you will eat from the fruit from the old year, okay? And then look at this, and you shall bring forth the old from before the new. And this is also a very well-known verse, the sages. חדש מפני ישן תציעו. לא, ישן מפני חדש תציעו. What it means here that the 9th year, the year after 2 years of not working the land, the 9th year will be also so much fruitful that you will not have to use what you have in the storage. You understand? Do I make myself know? אני אגיד את זה בעברית בוונדי, תוכלי לתרגם? הפסוק 25 פסוק 22 מדבר על זה ששנה שישית תהיה מאוד 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 פוריה, ותספיק ל3 שנים. הפסוק הזה בפסוק 10 הוא עוד יותר טוב. שנה שישית תהיה מאוד פוריה, אבל שנה תשיעית תהיה גם פוריה, כל כך פוריה, שאתם תוכלו לזרוק את מה שנשאר לכם בשנה שישית. Can you translate? It wasn't clear Okay, so again, the 6th year will be very fruitful, okay? And you will have enough food until the 9th year. But here in verse number 10, it talks about the 9th year. It will be so fruitful also, and although it is the first year after 2 years of not working the land, that you can throw away. You don't have to use the food that you've been kept from since the 6th year. You will have enough food also in the 9th year. בסדר? Okay?
Yeah, but in our current chapter, where you're looking at that, I mean, it's not specifically talking about the 3rd year. It's saying that, it seems to me, it's saying that you will be doing so well, you will get so much harvest in whatever year it is, that you actually have to remember to eat the old stuff to make room for the new, and not just eat the new stuff. I mean, you actually will have so much that you have to plan what to do with it.
Yeah, you will eat the old stuff. This is, yes, in the beginning of the verse, you will eat the old stuff, but you will have, after a certain few months in the 9th year, you will have so much new food that you could just take out the old stuff and just live from the new food.
So what has happened to the Shemitah year amongst all this? They're talking about the 8th year and the 9th year.
Yeah, no. The Shemitah was the 7th year. Okay, let's say
but that's not taking it into account at all. We're talking about it's very confusing. We're talking now the 8th year and the 9th year.
Yes.
But the Shemitah year, presumably they would use all the old store ready to start again.
Okay, so I think you weren't here in last time. We have in 25, we have the promise there that the 6th year will be so fruitful that it will be enough. It will make enough food for 6th year and 7th year and even 8th year. Okay. Okay. You weren't here, so we talked about it. How it. I mean, we asked ourselves how it can be that what will they eat during the 8th year and the 7th year and the 8th year. So the solution is that the 6th year will be very, very fruitful. But here we have even better than that. The 6th year will be fruitful, and the 9th year also. All this is part of the blessings if we will be righteous and if we will if we will do what God asks us. Okay. Let's move on. Crystal, can you read 11, 12, and then the verse from Genesis, and then 13.
Okay, 11. And I will set my tabernacle among you, and my soul shall not abhor you.
Here.
And I will walk among you and will be your God, and ye shall be my people.
Okay. And just to wanted to that you notice the phrase of "I will walk among you." והתהלכתי בתוככם.
Yeah.
It reminds us immediately what is written in Genesis 3. Can you read number 8?
And they heard the voice of God walking in the garden toward the cool of the day. And the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord, God amongst the trees of the garden.
Thanks.
And the next one?
Yeah, just I want to connect the two verses because I got here. The blessing in Leviticus 26 is like the Garden of Eden. Okay, this is what they halachti betochem, and I will walk among you. I will dwell within you. Okay, yes, and 13.
I am the Lord your God who brought you forth out of the land of Egypt, that ye shall not be their bondmen, and I have broken the bars of your yoke and made you go upright.
Thank you. Yes. So again, this ending and the signature and ending, and which means we are going to switch subject. Okay, this is the ending of this section. And just I wanted to say something else. Here in 11, the translation is a tabernacle, but and of course it's literally it's correct because in Hebrew it's mishtani. Okay, mishkan, this is tabernacle. But the word mishkan in Hebrew comes from the root shin taf nun, which is also to dwell, like and also shachen, neighbor, or shchenut, and also shchina. Shchina is the deity, the female word for deity. So I looked it up, and many commentators say that here it should be not tabernacle, but just a shchina. I mean, the deity will be among us. God will be among us. And the meaning is that God's presence is not limited to a certain construction. So I think in this case, the translation of tabernacle is less can be better. It's not the best. Okay, so just about this. So until now we have we read about the blessing. Okay. Now I think we can finish the chapter right now because here comes the other part. Now just notice the first part was we have a section of 10 verses of blessings, and 25 verses of verses. Okay, so who wants to read the scary part? Adina, would you like? Between 14 to, let's say, 14, okay, 22.
14 to 22.
Yeah.
If you do not obey me and do not observe all these commandments, if you reject my laws and spurn my rules, so that you do not observe all my commandments, and you break my covenant, I in turn will do this to you. I will wreak misery upon you, consumption and fever, which cause the eyes to pine and the body to languish. You shall sow your seed to no purpose, for your enemies shall eat it. I will set my face against you. You shall be routed by your enemies, and your foes shall dominate you. You shall flee, though none pursue. And if for all that you do not obey me, I will go on to discipline you sevenfold for your sins. And I will break your proud glory. I will make your skies like iron, and your earth like copper, so that your strength shall be spent to no purpose. Your land shall not yield its produce, nor shall the trees of the land yield their fruit. And if you remain hostile toward me and refuse to obey me, I will go on smiting you sevenfold for your sins. I will loose wild beasts against you, and they shall bereave you of your children and wipe out your cattle. They shall decimate you, and your roads shall be deserted.
Thank you. What do you say?
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Very scary. And it's not the end. Very frightening. What? What?
It gets worse.
Exactly, it gets worse.
Well, we do have the plague, don't we? We've got the plague.
Yeah, yeah. But this is not only for us. I mean, it's all over the world. Yeah. I don't know. Yossi, מה אתה אומר? Yossi likes this kind of. No, I'm kidding you.
I became afraid of that.
Yeah, it's very frightening. And
Yes, but it's very interesting. It's the signs that are essentially between man and God, and all does become not a morality behavior, or not a morality behavior.
but in 14,
It's מקומם, it's become
frustrating.
yeah.
But I'm not sure about it, because in 14, if you don't hearken unto me and will not do all these commandments, I mean, we know that all the book of Leviticus is full of commandments, and we know that there is the religious commandments and there are the morality, mental commandments. I think it regards everything.
The emphasis is about the Shabbat, Shvita, Shnat Shabbaton and Shnat Yovel. If you, I read it before, so because you didn't save the Shvita, now the land will
Rega. Yeah, well.
This is written in the next.
Next it's written about the land.
So if you don't save the Shemitah, so the land will Shemitah because nobody not will be there.
What do you say? Is it does it regard all the book of Leviticus, or only the few last?
No. I say that the emphasis is about the Shemitah, or something between God and man.
I'm not sure about it. Why, anyone else want to comment about it?
Well, yes.
Later in the chapter, and when it talks about, well, we didn't get to it yet, but it's going to talk about that, throw you out of the land, and you'll be scattered among your enemies, and the land will be desolate, and it'll make up for all of the Shemitah years that you did not observe by having a very long rest without you there. That's what it's going to say that later on in the chapter.
Yeah, but I'm asking about number 14, or number 14 and 15. I read it as regarding all the laws since Mishpatim portion, since the people, since the Sinai, since they got the 10 Commandments until now, everything is.
That's how it reads, yes.
But
That is how it reads, yeah.
the 10 Commandments are very specific, and they are supposed to be the most important things. And these other things that we're talking about are really more minor. And yet the way it's worded here, that even, if we don't obey those, there'll be punishment. But the Ten Commandments is talking about honor to your parents and keeping the Sabbath and not murdering and not stealing. And that's the morality. And I know a great percentage of the commandments are supposed to have been given if we live in the land of Israel. Those who've made Aliyah have already obeyed a very big percentage of the commandments. So it's very ambiguous, that we've got the 10 basic commandments, which to me are really the basis of moral behavior, which some people who obey the little details do not behave in a moral way, as we see in politics. So it's very confusing. You can't do it right.
You can look at all the other commandments as being sort of an elaboration, like further explanation of the 10 Commandments. And these are the things you have to do in order to observe the Big Ten. And these are like further, like this is the main topic, and these are the subtopics. And so it's like further explanation or elaboration of the Ten Commandments, so that not that as the Ten Commandments as a separate entity, but it's sort of like the introduction, and this is the rest of it. Where we're fleshing it out.
Yes, but in this chapter, not this chapter, the whole of this book of Leviticus, we've had rules and regulations that have really been inhumane, like the issue of women who are raped. If they don't scream, then they're guilty. And this has nothing to do with the 10 Commandments.
Well, I also think that the 10 Commandments are we can say the synopsis of all the commandments after that. And I think that the example that you gave with the woman, I'm not talking if it is right or not, but it is connected to one of the last commandments of Lo Tachmod. Don't take, and I don't remember exactly the wording, but don't take another woman just Lo Tachmod, just because you want her. I think if we want, we will find a connection to every one of the 10 Commandments. If you really want, you can say that it's. But again, we are talking about year 2000 and more. We are talking here 2,500 years ago, even more than that. And the thing that a man should be punished for raping a woman was not so obvious. So if it elaborates more and gets to details, it's a good thing. It's a progress. You understanding, Andy?
Yeah, but we're not supposed to progress. I mean, according the opposition to the Masorti movement is that we have progressed, and we're not supposed to progress.
No, why not?
Well, in the ultra orthodox eyes, you should not change one word of this.
Well,
I think we should discrimination out of this discussion.
Well, first of all, the Orthodox, the Orthodox go with the stages view. because they don't read every word in the Torah and say, okay, we'll do it because this is the Karaim. I don't know how to say it in English, but the group of people, the Karaim and maybe the Shmonim also, that they do exactly what is written in Torah. Also, we have the terrible law that is written in the Torah of we have to kill our child if he behaves not nice, or something like that. Ben Sorer Umore. But of course, and the sages found this very problematic and found all kinds of ways to skip this, to understand it more otherwise than the Torah. So, but I think it's the Torah. If you look at in a general view, we have the thing for the slaves, not to be rude to them, not to give them too hard work. And I can, if we go in the same line of this thought, maybe when the slave is sick, don't take him, let him rest, let him take care of himself or herself. Maybe if he's too young, don't put. And I think it's a big social progress. I mean, I try to compare to not to today, of course. I mean, today it would be, and even 200 years ago, and even today, that there are still slavery. And I don't know how we got to this, but anyway, I think I agree that it is confusing, like you were saying, you said, Wendy, about so what should we do? I mean, should we do? We don't do everything. We don't do all. We can't comply to all the laws, right? This is what you meant.
Yes, we can't do them all.
Yeah, I read once a book by Meir Shalev that said the 10th command, Lo Tachmod, is something that no one can ever really comply to. Because even if I go out and see, I don't know, a nice car of somebody else, and even only if I think, oh, I want this car, zero. I didn't. I fail to fulfill this command because I have to not ever to want something else.
But there's a difference between I would like to have a car just like that, and I want to take his car away from him so that I can have it instead of him.
Yeah.
You're right.
Not the same thing.
Yeah, but this is what, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
They're telling us not to want to take somebody else's belongings, but it's not saying you can't admire it and want something that's like it.
It depends how you understand this command. Yeah. Let's move on. Let's continue reading the curses to be finished with it. So we are here, right? 23. Jimmy, would you like to read 33 until 31?
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm having a lot of trouble with my sound. So anyway, if you hear me, great. If you don't, stop me and I'll stop. Okay. And if these things fail to discipline you for me, and you remain hostile to me, I too will remain hostile to you. I in turn will smite you sevenfold for your sins. I will become a sword against you to wreak vengeance for the covenant. And if you withdraw into your cities, I will send pestilence among you. You should be delivered
I think, Ginny, we can't hear you. Maybe.
When I break your staff of bread, 10 bread in a single. Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, maybe someone else. Crystal, would you like to go on to continue? Like from 26 to 31.
When I break your staff of bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they shall deliver your bread again by weight, and ye shall eat and not be satisfied. And if ye not for all this hearken unto me, but will walk contrary to me, then I will walk contrary to you in fury, and I also will chastise you 7 times for your sins. And you shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall ye eat. And I will destroy your high places and cut down your sun pillars, and cast your carcasses upon the carcasses of your idols, and my soul shall abhor you. And I will make your cities a waste, and I will bring your sanctuaries into desolation, and I will not smell the savor of your sweet odors.
Now let's move on until 35.
And I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies that dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And you will I scatter among the nations, and I will draw out the sword after you, and your land shall be a desolation, and your city shall be a waste. Then shall the land be paid her Shabbats, as long as it lieth desolate, and ye are in your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest and repay her Sabbaths. As long as it lieth desolate, it shall have rest, even the rest which it had not had in your Sabbaths, when ye dwell upon it.
Yeah, so just thanks, Crystal. The idea here is that we have to atone before God and as well as before the land. This is what Yossi and Andina was talking about before. I think we will just continue reading, and if you really want to, Adina, would you like to read 36 to 40?
Okay, 36. As for those of you who survive, I will cast the faintness into their hearts in the land of their enemies. The sound of a driven leaf shall put them to flight. Fleeing as though from the sword, they shall fall though none pursues. With no one pursuing, they shall stumble over one another as before the sword. You shall not be able to stand your ground before your enemies, but shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall consume you. Those of you who survive shall be heartsick over their iniquity in the land of your enemies. More, they shall be heartsick over the iniquities of their fathers. And they shall confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers, and that they trespassed against me, yea, were hostile to me.
Thanks. Thank you.
Until that-
Do you recognize this in number 40 about confess their iniquity and the iniquity of their fathers? Remember, we have in Exodus 34, פוקד עוון אבות על בנים ועל בני בנים על שלושים ועל רבעים, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children and upon the children's children, unto the third and unto the fourth generation. Remember, this is
So it's interesting to know. I mean, all that came true. We were scattered among the nations, and our enemies did eat us up. That's forecasting something like the Holocaust. So what did we do to deserve to come back and build up the land again? And all the terrible things that we're doing now, are we going to be exiled again?
That's a big question. And you know that I heard people saying that, yes, we will be exiled again. And this is the pessimistic view, the pessimistic view. Yeah, this is a big question. Because as you said in the beginning, that it's very confusing, and we are not doing all what we should do. We have a lot of corruption and other things, but yeah, this is if I think for someone who believes in really true believer in God and in what it says here, maybe, yeah. Anything else? So let's finish with a little bit more optimistic way.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, what will happen if the people decide to atone? Okay, so Gershom, can you take us from this terrible fate? Okay, so 42 until 46.
Then will I remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and also my covenant with Abraham will I remember, and I will remember the land. Oh, keep going. Sorry. For the land shall lie forsaken without them, and shall be paid her Sabbaths, while she lieth desolate without them. They shall be paid of the punishment of their iniquity, because they rejected mine ordinances, and their soul abhorred my statutes. And yet for all that, when they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject them, neither will I abhor them to destroy them utterly, and to break my covenant with them, for I am the Lord their God. But I will for their sakes remember the covenant of their ancestors, whom I brought forth out of the land of Egypt in the sight of the nations, that I might be their God. I am the Lord. These are the statutes and ordinances and laws which the Lord made between him and the children of Israel in Mount Sinai by the hand of Moses.
So remember, we are still in Mount Sinai. Now look at that. It talks about then will I remember my covenant, and then again 43 and 44 terrible things about the land, and then about that we will be in the land of our enemies, and 45 again. It repeats the thing of remembering the covenant. I think this is. I'm not sure about it, but I think this is an example of two offers, or two, because I don't see the point here. If you have an idea why it's written here about covenant, and then again the bad things, and then again remember the covenants. Maybe I do something, but I didn't find about it. Yeah.
But I stopped too soon because we didn't read 41.
Yeah, we didn't read 41. You're right. Yeah. So go ahead, read it.
Was I supposed to read that when I was?
Yeah.
Well, it says, when I in turn have been hostile to them and have removed them into the land of their enemies, then at last shall their obdurate heart humble itself, and they shall atone for their iniquity. And then I will remember my covenant.
Yeah, thank you very much, because it was important to read it. You're right. Because this is the turning point. או אז התקנה לבבם הערל. This is when they will be, they will start to atone. Yes. Just want to see how it's written, because in Hebrew, לבבם הערל, how it is translated, I'll be humbled. What is exactly humbled in English? Because arel in Hebrew is covered. We say an ear is arela, ozen arela, which is not, doesn't listen. So what is exactly humbled in English?
humbled. What does it mean?
Yeah.
To be humble is to be modest, to be, I suppose one word is
Really? Modest, humble. I mean, this humble, I thought, I know what humble is, but I thought this is something else. Because
it's not quite modest. You can be humbled if you've thought a lot of, say you think a lot of yourself about a particular thing, and then you're proved wrong, then you're humbled.
Yeah. And I was mistaken here. The translation of humble is ikana, will be surrender. Like there, the levavam he'arel, the translation is uncircumcised heart. And this is in very literally translation, but it means, in Hebrew, it means their heart doesn't listen, doesn't comply.
It's funny, it makes me think of the line from Charlotte's Web, where she's telling Wilbur that because she writes in his web the word humble, and she thought that was a good description because it means modest, but it also means low.
It means also what?
Low, like low to the ground.
Okay, low.
To high, high.
Yeah.
Not high, but low.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think of that because humble has both of those meanings.
Yeah, okay. So it's okay, the correct translation. Anyway, so our time's up, and thank you. And
Thank you.
one more chapter. Okay, so see you next time, and Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.